Okay. Tatiyampi. All right. So I think see if this works. Anyway, we have a full house here in in Hamilton. So good evening to our local meditators. I like to always express my appreciation for the work that you do in our dungeon. Our basement, we have 4 rooms in the basement. And we have 4 meditators here. So what I wanted to talk about tonight was answer a question that comes up often, and that is, how do you prepare for a meditation course? Right? We get this often where meditators want to come to meditate, or they want to go somewhere to meditate, and they wonder, how do you prepare yourself? It's a very old question. It's a question that they were asking in the Buddhist time as well. It's a question that's answered quite well in the commentaries to the Pali Canon. And as a result, it's something that has been incorporated into the ceremony for new meditators to prepare them psychologically for their endeavor. But I think if you look at the format, if you look at the commentaries, and you look at the format of the opening ceremony, it's, I think, perhaps even more useful. I know it's more useful if you're aware of these things in advance, because the opening ceremony that we do in Thailand it's inspiring, but it's quite spur of the moment, or it's unprepared. So the idea behind the idea behind the opening ceremony is it's a list of ways one should prepare oneself for a meditation course. So quite useful, something to think about. So that I go through that tonight. I think I've gone through it before. The first thing we do to prepare ourselves, should do, or it's encouraged that we do, to prepare ourselves for a meditation course, is to put ourselves in the hands of the Buddha and our teacher, to surrender ourselves. This is a religious thing. I mean, in Islam they talk a lot about surrender to God. Well, you have to surrender yourself to the Buddha. Surrender yourself to your teacher. It's a scary thing. In some ways, it's an acknowledgement of the power a teacher has to some extent over their students. And to the extent that it can be accomplished, the meditation uh, can become quite a bit more effective, right? Because if for whatever reason you're unable to surrender yourself to your teacher and to the Buddha, and there are various reasons for that, you'll constantly be doubting and questioning what you're doing, right? And maybe that your teacher's not worth surrendering yourself to. Maybe you have no way of knowing whether your teacher is someone whose teaching will protect you and will lead you in a good direction, such that if you surrender yourself to them and their teachings, you can be assured of beneficial outcomes. So it's not to say that one should just blindly throw oneself at whatever teacher one comes across. What it means really is that you should wait to find a teacher who you really feel like you can dedicate yourself to, and say, at least for the time of the course, that you have enough confidence. And this is what this really says, is that you shouldn't just sign up on the internet for a meditation course. You should get to know the center. One of my students here, and if he's listening, I apologize, he asked me about this. He wants me to talk to his parents, and because he wants to go to Thailand, and he wants me to reassure his parents that Vipassana meditation is not dangerous. I haven't replied yet, but my answer is going to be Vipassana meditation can be meditation can be very dangerous. Meditation is dealing with your psyche. It's the very most powerful thing that there is. And so there's really no way that I can guarantee that if you go to this meditation center or that meditation center, that you're not going to have difficulties with it. I mean, it depends also very much on you and your state of mind. Many people come to meditation centers with problems, but I've seen and experienced and heard secondhand of many situations where meditators were manipulated by their teachers or misled by their teachers, or even with the best of intentions were misdirected or misguided by a teacher who was less than 100% competent. So it's important to have that sense of reassurance. Yes, this teacher knows what they're talking about, and there are various ways you can get their credentials. Where did they learn to teach? What have they done to get where they are? You can, of course, and in this day and age, you can have access to their teachings. I mean, sometimes that means going to their center, sometimes it means going on YouTube. You can find out what other people are saying about the technique in the center. We're very interested in getting feedback from our students for our center for this reason, because we want to provide people with an honest sense of what they can expect going into a meditation course in our center. So these are the various ways, but it's important to be clear about that. This isn't something you can take offhand and sort of sit back and maintain your skepticism. It's something you really should be sure about going into, at least moderately. I mean, to the extent that you can be sure. To that extent, it's going to be successful, right? If you're completely unsure, have no clue whether this is going to benefit you at all, it makes it more difficult. Of course, during the course, there are ways of reassuring students, so it's not to say that you need, but it's a great preparation to commit yourself and say, for this time, I'm going to dedicate myself to the Buddha, and sort of the Thai word is mop, which means to hand over yourself, put yourself in the Mahasi Sayadaw says something about this as well. He says that it protects you, because suddenly the teacher is responsible. You're not, you're no longer you're no longer responsible for yourself. You now have someone who's going to guide you, right? You're now under the protection, and if this person is reliable, then you have a great power and a great support. You don't have to go it alone. So that when you meet with, as he says, when you meet with frightening or upsetting experiences, you know that you have this support. You've placed yourself in the under the protection of the Buddha. And Ajahn Tong, I think, says that when you do this, ghosts leave you alone. I mean, that's a big thing in Thailand and Asia in general. Once you've placed yourself in the protection of the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha, and non-human beings, ghosts, demons, and so on, will leave you alone. If they try to harm you, their head will split into 7 pieces, he says. So that's the first thing we do. We say, Imahang bhagava atabhavang tumhakang parichachami. O Venerable Blessed One, I hereby relinquish myself, turn myself over, turn this being over to you. And then Imahang acharya atabhavang tumhakang parichachami. O Venerable Teacher, I hereby hand over this attabhava, this self, to you. That's the first thing. In the opening ceremony, the second thing we do is actually ask the teacher and make it clear what our intentions are. So we say, Nibbana sa me bhante sachi karnataya kamathanang dehi. Please, Venerable Teacher, give me, bestow upon me the meditation teaching for the purpose of realizing Nibbana. So we make clear our intentions. I've talked about this before. I've gone through these before, I think, somewhere on YouTube. So we're not just practicing as a hobby, or we're not just practicing for some kind of superficial stress relief. We're actually trying to free ourselves from suffering. This isn't just a vacation or a fun time. It's not just a retreat. This is a full-on assault to tear down the walls and free ourselves from suffering and attain Nibbana, attain perfect freedom from suffering. Another thing about this is that you have to ask. Often, from time to time, I'll get these, I'll find myself in these situations where people that expect me to lead them, to want somehow to lead them through meditation. Even just today, someone called me, and I think it was just the wording, but it was like, so we're coming to see you if you want to teach us how to do walking meditation. And well, okay, it's just the wording, but let's be clear. It's important that we're clear, because if people expect that the teacher wants to teach, then what kind of initiative do they have coming into it, right? If I went around teaching people on the side of the road, or that I met, hey, sit down, I'm going to teach you how to meditate, what kind of initiative would they have? How sincere would their effort be, right? So it's very important that we never, ever, ever push the teaching, push the meditation practice on other people. It's very important that a person come to it with a sincere intention. And so it's an important part of the opening ceremony. It's important to be clear that if you want to learn how to meditate, it's you that has to do the asking and the requesting and the chasing. I often tell my students, I'm not following you. If you want to follow me, I don't follow my students. You come to me. Once you leave, up to you if you come back. Some people, I never see them again. I'm not sure if that's a good sign or not. How's the new YouTube live stream going? Are we doing all right there? A little bit of chatting going on YouTube. That's why I turned it off before. I thought, well, you can't chat while I'm talking, but it's okay. I don't mind. Sorry, Dara, I have the audio turned down. I can't hear what you're saying. I have to type it. Next thing is we have a couple of reflections, and these are based on the supportive meditations. So it's important that as we practice insight, that we're also aware of at least two things. First, the inevitability and the imminence of death. The inevitability and the imminence of death. That death is inevitable. That life is uncertain. So we say, Aduwang me jiwitang, duwang maranang. Jiwitang me aniyatang, maranang me niyatang. Something like that. Life is unstable. Life is unsure. Death is sure. Life is uncertain. Death is certain. My life has death as its end. And then in Thai we say, it's good luck that I was born in a time and a place, and that I've taken the opportunity to practice the Buddha's teaching. I haven't wasted this life as a human being. So this helps give us the encouragement, remind us that this body is just a worn-out cart that's falling apart, getting sick and wearing down, until eventually it just falls apart. And if we're not ready for that, we'll be caught quite off guard when we pass away. The second reflection is a metta reflection. We wish for all beings to be happy. This is a good way of overcoming any kind of bad blood we have with anyone else, any hang-ups we might have towards our family, towards our loved ones, towards friends, enemies, whoever. So we say this traditional sabbe satta sukhita. No. We start off with ourselves. May I be happy. Ahang sukhito homi. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I find peace. May I be free from enmity, and so on and so on. But the real metta comes from we wish it to others. Sabbe satta sukhita hontu. And you can develop this if you know anything about metta. It can be first to the people in this room, then the people in this building, and then in this city, this country, and then in the world, all beings. You can do it by groups, you can do it by directions, you can start with people who you love, then people who you're neutral towards, and then people who you dislike. Many different ways. But metta is very good for clearing the air. Be clear about our intentions. No, I don't have bad intentions towards anyone. May this all be let go. May we no longer seek vengeance against each other. Did the voice go high-pitched again? Oh, that's too bad. See if I can fix that. I have to drop it here. Hello, hello. Uh-oh. I have to go out of this. Hello, hello. Sound better now? Okay. So metta, we offer metta, friendliness towards all beings. And then a couple more things. We make asseveration of the practice that we're going to undertake. We'll often make we'll memorize the meditation technique, for example, memorizing the 4 foundations of mindfulness, but we make clear what we're going to practice. So in the ceremony, we repeat, actually it comes from the commentary. It's a passage that's in an old Theravada commentary. Ye neva yanti nibbanang buddha te sancha savaka ekayanena magena satipatthana sannina, which means all Buddhas and their Arahant disciples have realized Nibbana through a specific path. That path is the 4 Satipatthana. I think that's just added in there to remind us of the greatness of the practice and the goal of the practice. And then finally, the last thing we do in the opening ceremony is to pay respect to the Triple Gem. And moreover, to make clear that this practice is a form of respect. Respect is interesting. I like to talk about this, but I'll just go over the format, the Pali. Imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya ratanatayang pujemi. I pay homage, puja, to the Triple Gem with this practice of dhammanu dhamma. It's a word that the Buddha used. Dhammanu dhamma, which means it just means Dhamma in the Dhamma, or Dhamma of Dhammas. But it's explained to mean practicing the Dhamma to realize the Dhamma. So I've talked about this before. The Dhamma is the 4 Satipatthana. To realize the Dhamma, well, that's Vipassana and Nibbana. It's the 4 Noble Truths. There's two meanings of the word Dhamma. The first one is the teachings of the Buddha, the techniques, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, that kind of thing. So the idea with respect is something that it's useful for our own benefit. I mean, it's not like the Buddha can hear us. It's not like Buddha is some god up in heaven that is going to answer our prayers or is going to be pleased by our respect and our worship. But respect is a state of mind. Respect says that this is something that I take seriously. Again, this is not something that I am doing in an idle, offhand way. It's going to be something I dedicate myself to, and it's something that I see as worthwhile. Dedication is well, the word worship is actually quite a good word. Worship means you see something as worth. You give something, you express your belief that this thing is worth something. It has value. And the best way to express the value of the Dhamma, the value of the Buddha, the value of the Sangha is to practice, is to follow the teachings, is to work to better yourself, work to obtain the purity and the clarity and the freedom of mind, so that you too become one of the Sangha and continue this powerful and wonderful and liberating lineage and tradition and practice. Okay, so I think we're there. I'm getting some error on YouTube that I guess I have to figure out, but I think we're back up, and we potentially have a live stream going on YouTube again, which is good. So that's the Dhamma for tonight. If anyone has any questions about what I just talked about, or other questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I'd like to figure out what's wrong, and let me know if you're buffering. It says that you probably be buffering. If anyone's getting buffering, let me know. No buffering, huh? Okay. Well, I don't know what YouTube's on about. Quality isn't the best. Yeah, I don't know how to adjust that. YouTube's telling me as well. Stream's bitrate is not good. Bitrate should be 400 kbps, which it's not, I guess. So maybe that bitrate's a little better. Stream health is excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's live streaming, right? So it's never going to be the best quality. But I can try and tweak it. Maybe if we had a better internet connection, but let's see what the internet connection's like. Sending, I mean, it's sending so very little. Why would it be? I should be able to double that. Let me see here. Yeah, the audio is most important, right? It's really not that big of a deal. So let's see, it's probably going to buffer. So that's better, better quality, but you might find now that there's some buffering. I don't know. Okay, let's back to Second Life. Hey, how's it going over in Second Life? Sorry guys, I'm obsessed with YouTube here. I got some questions here, my dedicated Second Life following. Who, if any, do you follow not following your students? I'd imagine your teacher and the Buddha. Yes. Does the center have enough upload bandwidth to do both YouTube and Second Life live broadcast? Honestly, it seems like it's not taking much bandwidth at all. We're sending 64 kilobytes per second, which is really nothing. Oh, there's 100 and some kilobytes per second. We should be able to do 1,000 kilobytes per second, I think. Yeah, YouTube says it's going to buffer, but I don't know. I don't understand why that is. Anyway. Bring bug spray and turn off your phone. Well, yes. Yeah, I think it was a bit of a trick, the beginning of the talk, where I talked about preparation. It's not the sort of preparation that people were expecting or are looking for when they ask that. Oh yeah, is the audio only one channel? That's a problem. I can mix it. I can figure out how to mix that. I don't really know how, but there's got to be a way. So an opening ceremony for meditators. It's something to think about, certainly. I haven't done it here in Canada much, but we could certainly start. I have to find the documents and print them up. I think I've got the documents, the Pali and English translation somewhere. They might be on our website, buried away somewhere. The word Dhamma is things we know. Well, that's one meaning of it. Mind objects. The word Dhamma is Dhammaramana, means an object of the mind. That's not the only meaning. Dharma, the word Dharma has to do with holding. So it can mean things that hold their own in the sense of things that exist. It can mean things that one holds in the sense of one's doctrine and one's teaching or one's religion. Back to the low quality one. So we should find the output will be better, or the bandwidth will be better now. You won't have that loading thing, hopefully. Stream is healthy. We'll figure this out. All right, well, if there's no other questions, then I'm going to say goodnight for tonight. We'll try this again, hopefully sometime soon. Yeah, well, it's a choice. We pick. If on YouTube we either have bad quality or we buffer. I'm not sure why. It really shouldn't be that bad. Should be able to go a lot higher than this, but I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe I'll have to read up on how to do this more efficiently. Anyway, have a good night, everyone.